curving to finish this. Like imagine if 4 of them were one color and 1 was a different color. Couldn't do it. Exponent law says x to the 0 is. So let's use our 3 examples we did with our paper. 2 to the 0. So if you fold something in half no times, what do you have? 1 congruent rectangle. 3 to the 0. If you take a paper, fold it into thirds no times, what do you have? 1 congruent rectangle. And 4 to the 0, 1. So the y, I'm going to just draw a piece of paper and say no folds. No folds. And we still have 1 rectangle. The explanation in words, any base raised to the exponent of 0 any base raised to the exponent of 0 is 1. Any base raised to the exponent of 0 is 1. This time I won't forget about the examples. Raised to the exponent of 0 is 1. Nine to the 0. 5 to the 0. X to the 0. Now we need to be a little bit careful with the negatives. What did we talk about before with brackets and without brackets? If with brackets, even or odd. And we said that even exponents are positive and odd exponents are negative. And what did we say without brackets? It's always going to be negative. So this is with brackets. And is 0 even or odd? 0 is even. So this is going to be positive 1, and I wouldn't normally put the plus sign. I just want you to, when you look back, to understand we talked about what happened with that negative. This one has no brackets. And so mathematically what it means when there's no brackets is it's negative 1 times 7 to the 0. And so this is really negative 1 times 7 to the 0 is 1. And what's negative 1 times 1? Negative 1. That's why it remains negative without the brackets. Okay, so those negatives follow the exact same law that we had at the beginning with the brackets or no brackets. Questions on the last exponent law? We learned that one in grade 10, but yes, there is. Okay, let's go to the last sheet. We're going to do a couple on the first side together, and then you're going to finish it off. All we're doing is putting all these exponent laws together, so similar to what we saw in the Kahoot this morning. So at first, I know these questions can look scary because there's lots of brackets, lots of exponents, lots of numbers. We're just going to break it down and take it step by step. This first one, all I'm going to look at first is this negative 4 to the 5 to the 8. So I'm going to ignore everything after for the first step. Negative 4 to the 5 to the 8. Is that product? Is it quotient? Is it power? Is it fraction power? Is it 0 exponent? So it's obviously not 0 exponent because there's no 0. It's not fraction because there's no fraction. So now we're down to quotient, product, or power. It's not quotient because there's no division. So to narrow it down, you're just looking at the number of bases. One base or two base? One base means we multiply. So I'm going to keep that negative 4 in brackets. The 4 times 8 gives me 40. Now I'm going to deal with this second one. So I'm just doing it step by step. I'm not looking at the whole question together because that can get really overwhelming. This also is power because it's one base. So I'm going to keep that negative 4 in brackets. And what am I doing with the 7 and the 3? Multiplying again because one base, so 7 times 3 is 21. Now I'm going to put that division sign between them. Now you have a choice, and it just depends on your brain. Some people like division when it goes sideways like that with the division symbol. Some people like to stack it so it looks like the fraction, like the exponent law. Completely up to you. If you'd rather stack this on top of each other because your brain sees this better, then do it. If your brain can still see it with it sideways, great. But if you want to write it stacked, write it stacked. With stacked, it's a little bit easier to see we're dealing with quotient law because we're dividing. And what does quotient law say that we do to the exponents? We don't divide, we subtract. So I'm going to keep the negative 4 in brackets. And I'm going to do 40 minus 21, 19. There's our final answer. Second one, I'm just going to look at the top first. If I have two bases of 19, is that product or is it power? It is product. It says we're keeping the 19. We're adding the two exponents together, which is negative 7 plus negative 5. Negative 12. And then I'm just keeping that 19 to the negative 6 on the bottom. What law am I dealing with now? Quotient. Quotient says I keep the base 19 and I subtract the exponents. Be careful here. What your brain is going to want to do is negative 12, negative 6. But we need to understand that we are subtracting negative 6. And that's why it's really helpful to write it out, because when your brain sees that double negative, it's easier. What happens with a negative, negative 6? It turns positive in the middle, and sometimes your brain doesn't see that when you're just looking at the question. So negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. Just going to repeat, what your brain's going to do is take negative 12, negative 6, make negative 18. But what you're doing there is adding, not subtracting. So if you write it out, your brain will see this negative, negative piece. Next one, I'm just going to do each side separately, just like we did with example number 1. 8 to the 3 to the negative 5. Product or power? Power, because there's one base. Power says I do what with the exponents? Multiply. So this gives me 8 to the... Now I'm going to do the second piece. Power or product? Power. Power says we multiply the exponents. And now I'm just going to copy the multiplication sign that was in the middle from before. Now take a look at the question. What do we have here? This is product. How do we know that this is product? Two bases. So we've gone from power now to product. Product says we keep the base and we add the exponents. 5. Show me your thumb so far. I'm getting it. I'm kind of getting it. I'm not getting it. Put it really high so I can see. Awesome. Number 4 looks like which one that we did in the first line? Looks like number 2. So let's follow the same step. What did we do first in number 2? We did the top first. And the top we said was product because there's 2 8s. And if it's product, what do we do on the top? We add. Keep the base, add the exponents. Eight to the negative 6. Now I'm going to keep that denominator of 8 squared. Again, with the subtraction, you might want to write it out, because for visual people, if you see it, it's a little bit easier. We're doing negative 6 minus 2. Negative 6 minus 2 gives us negative 8. Number 5, which one above does it look like? Looks most like 1. So I want you to turn and talk with someone. Follow the steps we did in 1. So the left-hand piece gave me negative 12 to the 32. The right-hand side gave me negative 12 to the negative 27. What law does this now become in step 2? Product. So now we're adding those together. 32 plus negative 27. Positive 5. Who had it? High fives. Questions? Which one above does number 6 look like? Oh, screen's still frozen. You can't even see that. There we go. Number 6 looks like 2, not really because there's no division. Number 6 looks like number 3, right above it. Follow what we did in the question above. First half gave me 13 to the 12. Second gave me 13 to the 6. I choose to stack them. If your brain doesn't need to stack them, don't. It's completely up to you. If we're doing division, we end up subtracting. So we get 13 to the 6. Oh my God, number 7, there's numbers everywhere. Again, if your brain looks at this and you go like, nope, that's too much, then physically cover it. If I just gave you that, that's not as intimidating. Is that product, power, or quotient? That is power. That has 1 base and 2 exponents. Power says we multiply. So go ahead and write down just that piece of the question. What should you have written down for that piece of the question? 17 to the 30. Okay, now just do the second part of the question. I heard somebody say it already, 17 to the negative 12. Then the third piece of the question is just what it is. What do we do when I'm multiplying and there are 3 bases? We didn't talk. We've talked 1, we've talked 2. We have not talked 3. Yeah, this is still product. So anything more than 2 is product. We're just going to add all those numbers together. So a 30 plus a negative 12, 18 minus 8, 10. So still just product law. There just happens to be more bases. You're going to finish off the rest of this side and the second side, so you've got about 25 minutes. If you want to work with someone, great. If you don't, great. If you want to work by yourself, great. If you don't want to work, not so great. We're going to correct this tomorrow, so make sure all the questions are done for tomorrow. Okay, so you're going to do this guy first. And then that makes it exactly like the one we just did.